Thank you very much for having me.
We just heard our correspondent saying how uh, this hardline rhetoric from the BJP has, to a degree, forced the incumbent reformists of the AAP to change tack, to respond to the accusations in the home stretch of the campaign. How's it looking?
Well, it's always a bit difficult to predict elections, but you have to remember that they have 67 seats, and AAP has 67 seats out of 70. They have a campaign which is solely built so far, except for a few at the end, so far built on development, on infrastructure, on providing facilities to the citizens, making their lives better. So I think it probably will have a resonance with the public, and if they don't reach that same mark, they are perhaps going to, it's going to fall quite a bit because the BJP is a powerful election machine. But I think they will scrape through with a majority.
So, if we're to speak in callous terms, the citizenship law, the crackdown in Kashmir, is it a winning ticket for Narendra Modi?
So you have to understand that the Kashmir, after Kashmir, a couple of elections did take place, three, I think, and it lost everywhere. And this one, they have not gone heavily on Kashmir. They've gone more on the protests. They've not talked about the Citizenship Act as much as the protests against it, saying that the protests are motivated. They are by all kinds of anti-national elements. They are implying that they are traitors. It also saying that they are happen to be many of the protesters happen to be Muslims. So the link is very clearly established, and this has a resonance with their hardcore followers and perhaps some neutral people or fence sitters. But still, as we have seen, emotional rhetoric, nationalism, hardline anti-minority politics does not have that much of a resonance at the state level.
And
It sometimes may work
yet
at
we
the
heard at that
national level.
campaign rally, Siddharth, the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, a hardliner from the BJP, employing that phrase that the protesters deserve, quote, bullets, not biryani.
Yes. So he said that. And, of course, this is pretty coded language. Biryani is seen to be as a Muslim dish. But the others have also said, they're a junior minister in the government, central government of finance, no less, said, go out and kill all traitors. And found that, tried to rouse the emotions of the crowd. So it's been pretty nasty, to be quite honest. And much of the nastiness has come from the BJP because they think that this has some kind of resonance. But I'm willing to stick my neck out and say that it has only limited appeal because people at the city level, at the state level, want to know how their lives can improve. And the fact is that they are saying my life has improved. So this is an abstraction of nationalism. Nobody wants to go around killing Muslims. So it's an abstraction. But in real terms, their lives have changed. So I think, I'm again saying, I think that the Aam Aadmi Party will come through with a lower but decent majority.
Siddharth, let me ask you about news coming out this Friday out of India that four prominent political leaders in Kashmir have seen their detention that's been going on since August extended under a provision of the India's Public Safety Act. They can be held for up to 2 years. They include, without trial, two former chief ministers of Jammu and Kashmir. Again, is this a story that's making headlines, or is it not that important where you are?
I'll honestly say I think Kashmir has kind of dropped off the news map, and that's really tragic because a lot of, the lives of so many people who've been shut down, who internet is patchy, and now this two former chief ministers. in jail or custody, and that too now with this draconian act for public safety. I mean, why? So yes, it has been covered, but not in the way it should have been covered, not in the way of an outrage or an outcry to say whether why is this central government so adamant in applying this? They are, after all, responsible elected uh, politicians. So I think if you have to ask, if you are asking me directly whether there is news about it, I would say as a news person, not as much as there should be. There's a lot of other things going on in India, and this is just not making the kind of news that it ought to, because this is really, really something which is, I would say, outrageous.
You're outraged, Sidharth Bhatia. Others say, well, even those who disagree with the government, the pendulum swings in India, and it will swing back one day to the opposition.
Well, I won't say that it swing back to the opposition necessary, but I have I mean, I am not, I'm outraged about this specific thing. I see a lot of hope, and I see a lot of hope in this, not only these protests, but young people asking questions, coming out on the streets. I was at some discussion this afternoon, and people were saying, when a young person was saying that I'm arguing with my parents, that they must now change their mind. And that kind of debates has begun to happen. So I'm quite hopeful that there is a tide changing. What I would say is, in kind of larger terms, is that this country does not really like extremes. And I think we've gone to one extreme, so there will be a backlash. But think of the damage that's being done. I mean, calling your own citizens as traitors en masse is something which is going to stay in our social structure for a long time.
Sidharth Bhatia, founding editor of TheWire.in. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on France 24.